then we have the rematch. So we have a decent period of time between the two. Of course, we know that both of these guys have developed in this time, but we also know that they're very much established in their games. Like Poirier's gotten marginally better at what he does. He's gotten more effective at it, and he's gotten defensively better. McGregor, obviously, he's shown good parts of his game. He's shown areas in which, he can be exploited, whether it's over the distance into the later rounds where he does get tired, or obviously, if you're a strong enough grappler to ground him, then, that could be a problem for him as well. But generally, they're both very well-rounded mixed martial artists. So the second time they came together, of course, they've got this previous experience of one another. McGregor comes out, completely abandons everything. First of all, there's a false start, which it gives McGregor the center of the octagon before the fight even starts. Like at the point where the referee engages them, McGregor's standing on the Monster Energy logo. So Dustin Poirier's already lost half of the octagon. And then he's immediately backed up against the fence. And it was very much the same as the first fight from Poirier's perspective. He moved laterally, he was smart and defensive, and he started working the legs of McGregor. On the flip side, Conor came in and abandoned everything else in his game. He didn't throw any long kicks. He didn't use any tactics to sweep his opponent up against the fence and kind of play with the range. He went straight in, heavy on the lead leg, because he was trying to get Poirier to throw his jab so he could counter with the left hand over the top. And I think McGregor recognizes that there's like a 90-second window at the start of Poirier's fights where he's a little bit more tense and he's a bit more susceptible to getting stung and hurt. So McGregor came out hard. He came out a little bit too hard, and he came out so single-minded in his game plan that it didn't take too much for Poirier to A, figure out what he was doing, and B, stay away from it. And he was able to invest in the leg over and over again. So then when McGregor's left hand wasn't landing, he started to switch to the lead uppercut, which he did land in the first round. But then Poirier made the adjustment and started countering that as well with his right hook. And the benefit of that, with the right hook as well as the calf kick, when he was countering with the right hook, it was knocking McGregor over onto the leg that was already damaged, forcing him to reestablish his weight on it and reminding him of that damage. As soon as the second round starts, McGregor's immediately pressuring, and then he gets caught with one of those low kicks again, and it really buckles his leg. And then it's just a downward spiral from that point. He's pressuring forward, but he can't quite get in range of Poirier. When he comes into range, Poirier's catching his jab, rolling his left hand off his forearm, and then countering his lead uppercut. And this is where McGregor really started to unravel, because the more he kind of based over onto that leg, the more obvious it was that the leg was hurt, the less he could kind of poker face and try and hide it. And as soon as there was that vulnerability that Poirier recognized, he took the center, forced him back against the fence, and then that flurry of Poirier that we see in almost every one of his fights, pretty much every finish of his fight, if it doesn't finish with that, it will finish with someone level changing and trying to shoot, like the Brookins fight where he rats him up in a Darce choke. At that point, that's where Poirier's at his best, because he moves laterally along the fence in a square stance, and he loads power punches into every movement that he makes. And with some guys, they've been able to take quite a beating there, but with McGregor, because he was already fatigued when he arrived at that point, and his leg was already hurting him, when the barrage started, he started to fall apart very quickly. And then as he moved along the fence, we saw Poirier do that nice little bounce step and landed a clean right hook on his forehead, and he went down. Now, I know there was footage backstage of McGregor in his dressing room watching the fight immediately afterwards, and I know that in that footage that he was icing his leg, and the main thing was the damage to the leg. He was in a lot of pain, and we've seen him, on camera being carried or helped out of places, and there was clearly a lot of the weakening of his game up until the point where he was knocked out was the work on the leg. So that, for me, educates both of these fighters in how they're going to come into this fight again, because Poirier's going to know he's going to have to work harder for that low kick if he's going to get it, and McGregor's going to come in either with a good counter for it or with a low kick game of his own, so he can punish Poirier with the same thing that Poirier beat him with.